2021 was a great year for Apple. We got the next generation of MacBook Pros, the first iMac redesign in 9 years, the AirTags, the M1 iPad Pro, the redesigned Apple Watch Series 7, and of course, the iPhone 13. And 2022 is going to be even more exciting than 2021 was. So here is every single Apple product to expect in 2022. I want to give a shout out to Clean My Mac X for sponsoring this video. If you have an older Mac, or even if you have the brand new 14 and 16-inch models and you want to make sure that they stay fast, then Clean My Mac X is the all-in-one tool that can do that. With Clean My Mac X, you can optimize your Mac by deleting unnecessary cache files, re-indexing Spotlight, repairing disk permissions, completely removing every trace of an app, and so much more. Check out Clean My Mac X by using the link below. And now, back to the video. Starting off with the iPhone 14 is set to get a big visual change over the iPhone 13. It would still keep that flat frame look, but it will take a lot of design cues from the iPhone 4. This means a sandwich-style design with the front and back glass sitting on top of the middle frame. Also, redesigned volume buttons and a redesigned speaker grille that will look very similar to how it looked on the iPhone 4. The notch is finally set to be replaced by a punch hole camera, with a lot of the Face ID tech being relocated to under the display. An improved battery is also something that's expected, mostly thanks to the chassis getting even thicker to allow for the larger battery. Now, the iPhone 13 already had an outstanding battery life, but let's be honest, you can never have enough battery life. And aside from all of these design and battery life changes, the iPhone 14 is also set to be getting a higher resolution camera on the back, for the very first time since the 2015's iPhone 6s, which would allow for 8K video recording. Also, the iPhone mini is dead. Apple won't be releasing a mini version anymore, and instead, they are set to release a more affordable 6.7-inch model for anyone who prefers the larger size, but doesn't want to spend the extra money for the Pro Max model. Now, aside from the iPhone 14 line, there is also set to be a brand new iPhone SE. So, same exact design as the one that launched back in 2020, but with a faster chip, likely the A14 or even the A15, and also 5G. That's it for the iPhone. If you want to get an even more in-depth look at the iPhone 14, then check out our in-depth video right here. Next up, we have the Apple Watch, and here we're actually expecting to see 3 models. The first one being the Apple Watch Series 8, the second one being the Apple Watch SE, a second generation SE actually. By the way, I don't have the SE, this is just the Series 0, it's a placeholder. And then there's also a third model, which is said to be an adventure edition of the Apple Watch. The Series 8 is only said to be getting a body temperature sensor and maybe, just maybe, a glucose monitoring sensor too, but Apple's apparently having some issues with that, so I wouldn't put my money on it. The second gen SE is set to retain the same design as the first gen, but get a couple of extra features. An always-on display is quite likely, and so is an ECG meter, and maybe, just maybe, an oxygen level meter as well. Technically, this new SE would be very similar to the Apple Watch Series 6, just more affordable than what the Series 6 was at launch. But then this third model, this adventure edition of the Apple Watch, is really what caught my attention. So the idea is that this will be a more durable Apple Watch in every single way, so a more durable case, a more durable screen, and possibly even a more durable battery life. It might have less features than the Series 8, but that's fine, as the whole purpose of this watch is for you to take it on trips, hikes, and even to extreme sports. Obviously, I don't think that this is the best option for me, but I am still very curious to see how Apple will end up marketing it and how much it will differentiate from the regular Apple Watch. Then we have the iPad, where we expect some pretty big changes. The entry-level iPad is likely to get redesigned, but we just don't know to what extent yet. The most likely option is an iPad Air 3's design, but ultimately, it will get this flat frame design that the iPad Air and the iPad Pros have. And at that point, the iPad Air will become pointless. Speaking of the iPad Air, this is set to be updated with an Apple A15 chip and 5G. The iPad mini, on the other hand, is set to be getting 120Hz ProMotion, a higher clock A15 chip, and more storage. We just don't know yet if Apple will market this as a new mini or a smaller iPad Pro model instead. And speaking of the Pro, this is getting the biggest upgrade by far. with the very first iPad Pro redesign since 2018. This is set to feature a glass back that supports wireless charging and reverse wireless charging, a new landscape orientation for the Apple logo and the Face ID camera, as well as mini LED on the 11-inch model. I'm really excited for this new iPad Pro, and if you want to learn everything about it and everything about the new line of iPads in general, we got this super in-depth video right here. Then we have the Mac lineup, which is going to be truly exciting in 2022. So back in 2020 at WWDC, Apple promised us a full transition to Apple Silicon by the end of 2022. And the only Macs that haven't transitioned yet are the high-end Mac Mini, the higher-end iMac, and the Mac Pro, all of which are expected to be getting an update in 2022. The Mac Mini is set to get a new design made with Apple Silicon in mind. The one that's been leaked has a glass top. It looks pretty cool, nothing unique to be honest, but it is said to be powered by the M1 Pro and the M1 Max chips. The 27-inch iMac is getting a redesign to match the 2021 24-inch. A space gray color is expected, and of course that we would also get a larger display. Now, the old 21.5-inch model got updated to a 24-inch display, so it would make a lot of sense for the 27-inch to get updated to a 30-inch display, maybe even a 32-inch if we're lucky. This is also rumored to be a mini LED display with 120Hz ProMotion and multiple referencing modes, just like the new MacBook Pros. Now, in terms of performance, the new iMac is said to be configurable up to an M1 Max Duo. That's two M1 Max chips linked together through this die interconnect. That would give us 20 CPU cores, 64 GPU cores, and up to 128 gigabytes of RAM. Absolutely insane. It won't be cheap, but it will most certainly be the best desktop computer for video production and photography work. In terms of the Mac Pro, things are set to get even crazier. First, a new design that would be significantly smaller than the 2019 Mac Pro. One that is set to look like a couple of current gen Mac Minis stacked on top of each other. And second, it will be configurable with both the M1 Max Duo and a new M1 Max Quad, which, you guessed it, would be 4 M1 Maxes linked together. This means 40 CPU cores, 128 GPU cores, and up to 256 gigabytes of RAM. Yeah, this is going to be Apple's flagship computer that will very likely outperform even the best desktop PCs options out there, if we are to go by the M1 Max's already incredible performance. But that's not all. The MacBook Air is also said to be getting a major redesign, the biggest one that it has ever received, with the new M2 chip, which Apple's going to launch in 2022. This M2 chip would be a follow-up to the very power-efficient M1, so battery life would be the main focus here. The low-end 13-inch MacBook Pro is also set to be updated with this new M2 chip, and I believe that the M1 Mac Mini and the M1 iMac would also receive an update to the M2. We've done individual videos on all of these Macs, as well as a separate video just on Apple's 2022 chips, so feel free to check them out if you want a more in-depth explanation. And lastly, I want to talk about accessories. The AirPods Pro are finally set to be updated with the second generation that is supposedly getting a brand new design. One that ditches the stem to look similar to the Beats Fit Pro and some of the other earbuds on the market. And they're also said to be adding some fitness tracking capabilities, although we're not quite sure what those are yet. And I do have mixed feelings about them dropping the stem. I don't actually like earbuds that don't have a stem because one, I cannot really grab them properly, and number two, I usually have a lot of accidental touches when I'm adjusting them in my ear, as the controls are on the earbuds rather than on the stem like they are with the AirPods. I also expect to see a new Apple Pro Display XDR, as this new iMac will have a better display and a whole computer inside of it for much less than $5,000, which is the starting price for the Pro Display XDR. So that thing needs to be updated or significantly lowered in price. And I also expect Apple to release a black version of their Magic Keyboard, essentially matching the keyboard on the new MacBook Pros. But if you think we're done, we are not, as there is one more secret product in Apple's lineup, and that is Apple's mixed reality headset. And this is by far the most exciting product of not just 2022, but probably even the last decade, as this is what will make or break that metaverse future. There's honestly so much to talk about here, so definitely make sure to check out our most recent video that explains everything you need to know about Apple's biggest product launch since the iPhone. And let me know in the comments, which new Apple product of 2022 are you excited for the most? Hope you guys have enjoyed this one. I'm Daniel, and I'll see you guys in the next one. ZONEofTECH, signing out. Cheers.